Wake up. Compassion is expressed in this world through love and kindness, and these are qualities that those who practice Dafa should always radiate from within. There is something I have recently been thinking about. I've called upon you to help rescue lives, but the state of mind that you have when doing things to achieve this, such as when you raise awareness among people on your own or perform with Shen Yun, shouldn't be limited to just those moments. Rather, you should maintain a state of mind of uplifting people's souls and hold on to the sense of purpose as you go about things at your workplace, wherever it may be. This is especially true for those of you who are involved in various media platforms. There have been cases where others can't even sense in you the compassion that someone leading a spiritual life should have. Or your commentaries on situations or events are based on your personal inclinations, which shouldn't be. You are here to help rescue lives on a spiritual level, and you should be gauging things in light of Zhen-Shan-Ren being true, kind, and forbearing. What you write and say should, at a minimum, help steer people in a direction that will ultimately elevate their souls. A rather serious issue is that some of you are often making personal attacks on important figures in government. But we are here to help people elevate spiritually and deliver them from danger, not make enemies. Truth be told, you shouldn't be launching personal attacks on anyone, no matter how bad the person may be, with the exception being the Chinese Communist Party's sinister, now deceased despot, Jiang, and particularly not on important figures in the United States' two major political parties. Everyone is here for the way, and all, on some level, are awaiting deliverance from this world. Yet personal attacks tend to breed strong resentment. And once that kind of intense feeling has formed, it is hard to undo. So how are you going to get through to people, in that case? And what's more, doing that is likely to cause retaliation. Haven't there been plenty of lessons along these lines? Most of us are outsiders here, and we aren't deeply rooted in this society. We came here to escape persecution by the CCP, moreover. So we should be grateful, for the United States has opened its arms to us. When you write or speak, you should do so with the intent to help others elevate spiritually, and do so with love for your fellow man. Every Dafa practitioner and not just those in the media should ask themselves whether they are doing what someone who does spiritual practice in Dafa ought to. I can't help but feel worried, looking back at how you've done. Many people have been lax in their spiritual practice for quite some time, and have been going about things just like anyone else in the world. Which is hardly the spiritual state of someone who practices Dafa, right? You really need to take this problem seriously. Many of you who are involved in various media platforms need to start connecting your work with raising awareness and helping to free people from danger to their souls. If your only aim is to increase your click rate, that's hardly the spiritual state of a Dafa practitioner. You are wasting large amounts of the limited time that is meant for rescuing people in these final days. You are going to regret that one day. A Dafa practitioner's responsibility is to bring people out of peril, but if you carry on like this, your compassion is going to completely wither away. How is that anything like someone who leads a spiritual life? Think about the things that have happened, how could they not be related? There are higher beings protecting Dafa practitioners. When things go wrong, isn't it a divine warning? Why haven't you snapped out of it? And if something goes terribly wrong, isn't it a matter of divine punishment? If you no longer have compassion in you, if you've lost sight of your responsibilities and mission, and have even forgotten about your spiritual goals, then you are bound to be just like everyone else in this world. And if the lines between Dafa practitioners and others are blurred, what will become of you as a group? Is that not frightening? And yet we are beings shouldering the greatest responsibility in the universe. I have always taught that you should not be involving yourselves in politics in the role of a Dafa practitioner, nor get involved in rivalries between political parties. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party are both just worldly entities. Every individual is someone whom the divine wants to save from this world. You have no business thinking that you will only try to help individuals who belong to one political party, and not the other. They are all my people. I, as well as multitudes of divine beings, wish to save them. It's a different story, of course, if on some level a person doesn't want to be saved. But as Dafa practitioners, you cannot pick and choose. Each and every person is divine by nature, and everyone came to this earth to learn about Dafa and gain deliverance. Also, when you are commenting on things with your media platforms, you should focus your discussion on the matter at hand, not on the individuals involved. Perhaps some individual handled something wrong in some regard, but is great with things in other regards. Some people's thinking and beliefs are rather different, but it doesn't mean they are bad people. To be able to regard anyone and everyone with compassion, to have love for all people, really isn't something the average person can achieve. Harder still is to have a sense of compassion toward all living things in everything you do. But that is something practitioners of Dafa have to be able to do. Spiritual development is a process, and so what I described might not be doable at the moment for those who are newer to the practice, but with time, as you develop further in your spiritual practice, you must manage to do that. Veterans of the practice need to do this now. This is something dictated by your historic mission, and it is something that every Dafa practitioner who aspires to spiritual greatness must achieve in their practice. Your teacher, Hongjili, June 6, 2024. The ordeals our spiritual discipline faces. It was destined that Dafa practitioners would join me in saving lives at this historic moment. You vowed this before history began. To fulfill that vow is a magnificent and sacred honor like no other since the creation of the universe. However, what it entails is difficult, trying, and perilous. It is hard for mankind to realize what extraordinary compassion has been shown by Dafa practitioners in the human world. While those who practice Dafa are working to counter the persecution and save lives, behind the scenes evil specters are inciting people to attack and persecute practitioners as well as me, on various worldly grounds. Ordeals have been wrought upon our practice since 1999, when they began in China, and have never ceased, be it in the United States or elsewhere in the world. When you try to save beings, the karma they made over their past lives gets triggered, and demonic entities will likely make use of it to cause disruptions and do harm anywhere, anytime. While Dafa practitioners follow their teacher and strive to save lives, they are working towards their own spiritual liberation and working off their own karma. Demonic entities try to exploit Dafa practitioners' karma, however, and to block their efforts to save lives. Since those who are being saved cannot atone by themselves for all of their sins and karma from the past, divine beings have to compassionately absolve them of a portion of these, while leaving a portion for them to bear for themselves. I have to bear a portion of it for them, too. And so the more lives that are saved, the more I have to endure. You yourselves will meet with adversity if you are even just a little bit careless as you work to end the persecution. The trouble that the practitioner-founded media company is now facing mainly owes to practitioners not doing well, though factors from other dimensions are also at work behind the scenes. You were thinking that it's hard to fight the CCP's persecution without funds, and wanted to make money for this cause, and that the US government would be understanding if something wasn't handled quite right. But that was your own thinking. You thought that it would be justifiable since you were using that money not for other ends but to fight the persecution, given that live organ harvesting is happening and people are dying from the persecution every single day. But you mustn't forget that Dafa practitioners need to always act with integrity, or there will be problems. I know that in fact 15% of the karma still remains to be dealt with as we go about saving lives. That is what's left after 20-some years of working to save lives. It is a huge amount, I know. And for this reason things that spell enormous pressure for me, as well as burdens for me, will keep coming, one after another. Saving lives is difficult, it's not as simple as it sounds. And that is why we are even seeing those saints in Shenyun performing arts who are saving lives being plotted against. Our Dafa practitioners have been up against the CCP's evil, enormous, and fierce propaganda machine, and they have seen the regime use the force of an entire nation to attack them in every aspect of their lives. The Dafa practitioners outside of China are few in number, so those who are parents have found ways for their children to help combat the persecution. To effectively support this cause, Fei Tian Academy of the Arts and Fei Tian College have seen to it that their students not only do well at academics, but also develop into artists who counter the persecution in nonviolent ways. They have shown the world what China was like before communism, helped people to see the CCP for what it is, exposed the persecution, and conveyed the message that the divine is saving lives in the end times. During the performances, positive energy is used to dispel the adversity that people have in store for them, and this has benefited Americans along with the rest of the world. So each member of the Dafa community has been engaged in countering the persecution. In China, all practitioners, children, and adults alike, have been subjected to ordeals. Even young children have been imprisoned or died as a result of the persecution. Shenyun gives some students a chance to perform with the company through a practicum arrangement. Their parents had hoped that they might be able to help combat the persecution while getting their education, and that was why they sent them to Fei Tian. During the admissions process, students have always been asked by the school why they wish to attend Fei Tian, and they have invariably responded that they wanted to help their teacher in the cause of saving lives. They yearn to one day perform with Shen Yun, expose the CCP's persecution, and help rescue their brethren in China. All of us, young or old, feel a sense of responsibility for saving lives and countering the persecution. Some of the younger students are remarkably determined, in spite of their age. Working against the persecution is what we strive to do in our spiritual community. There is no government or corporation doing this alongside us. Be that as it may, there are still people trying to incite others to go after Shen Yun by claiming that young students who are minors are being used as performers, when they are in fact just participating in their practicum studies. It is only natural that all members of our community have felt compelled to do their part to counteract the persecution, given its unprecedented nature. If those are grounds for going after Shen Yun, then what has America come to? The truth is, we shouldn't expect to not face ordeals as a spiritual discipline just because we are in a certain location, it's just that they assume different forms. And during these ordeals, lives are being chosen to either remain or be sifted out in the end, and just as much is at stake for our Dafa practitioners. Your teacher, Hongjili, June 5, 2024. To the Dafa disciples attending the conference in Taiwan. December 9, 2023. My greetings to the Dafa disciples attending the conference in Taiwan. Spiritual practice is a serious affair. It is a process of fulfilling your vows, of renewing your being, and of becoming a holy being, remolded, once more. Every life is choosing its future during this critical historic moment, regardless of his or her origin. Dafa disciples have to make the opportunity of salvation known to people, and guide the beings who can still be saved onto the path that will take them back to their heavenly home. For this reason, you must study the teachings well and be a true practitioner in order to be up to the task and fulfill your sacred and magnificent responsibility. May your Fa conference be a great success. Your teacher, Hongjili. How you should regard and act toward masters. Family members. Spiritual practice in Dafa is serious. When Master first came to this world, it was for the sole purpose of saving all lives from destruction, and he set out for this degenerate place alone, without any familial ties or concerns, and incarnated among human beings. He proceeded to reincarnate into countless bodies, simultaneously, all throughout the world and in every nation, into those of everything from kings to commoners, from celestial beings in the three realms to beings in the underworld. There was nowhere he didn't reach. In doing so, he formed ties of kinship with a vast range of lives spanning all realms. Over lifetime after lifetime he formed familial ties with innumerable parents, wives, children, and siblings in various realms. This was to, first of all, safeguard the moral well-being of this human world, and secondly, it was to form a sacred bond with the lives, which could be utilized at the time when those with human bodies would be saved. Over the long course of history, most lives, and most people on this earth, have had some form of tie of destiny with me. Most of the people on this earth, in particular, have had kinship with me. And most Dafa disciples, more notably still, have been members of my immediate family in multiple lifetimes. And this is the main reason they had the destiny to become Dafa disciples. The rectification of the universe is now underway. Some lives came here to become Dafa disciples, some came to await the salvation of all lives, and some came to become my relatives, friends, classmates, or colleagues. And of course, some came here to be my brother, sister, wife, or child. Unlike Master, however, they are all spiritually developing themselves in Dafa, and shoulder the mission of saving themselves as well as others, and assisting me in saving beings. But having arrived at the final period of the end time, people have become woefully degenerate, their morals are badly lacking, and their thinking and conduct have become deviant. And the harm done to people's morals by the wicked Chinese Communist Party has been particularly evil. It's impossible for Dafa disciples to be unaffected by their current environment as they try to save people and spiritually develop themselves in a world so troubled. Once they let up in their spiritual practice, they tend to look at things with human attachments and in worldly ways, which is dangerous if it carries on for long. This is why I urge everyone not to become lax in their spiritual discipline. How you regard and act toward the members of my family in this lifetime has become another significant issue that reflects human thinking on your part, and this is what I want to address here. Sometimes you don't listen to or follow even the guidance I have given. If you don't follow my guidance, are you still my disciple? When you are either fawning toward or act poorly toward my family, it can affect their spiritual development. Has this not occurred to you? Look, when you unduly flatter my family members, you are harming them. Some people treat them as if they were me, while some give them money or other things. What's motivating you to do that? No Dafa project is allowed to do fundraising among practitioners. And even if there are special circumstances, no project may accept more than $1,000 without permission. Those who act on their own and give money are harming others as well as themselves. And you are dishonoring my family as well as me. Some people are actually hoping to get something from my family members when they do that, and some are hoping for a shortcut on their spiritual path. There are all kinds of absurd human attachments at work in these cases. And some people were hoping that I would give them special treatment of some sort after finding out what they did. How could they think of me that way? The truth is, my family members wouldn't dare to tell me even if they did accept your gifts. It didn't sit well with some people when they didn't get anything out of it. After giving money, some of them wanted to go back on their word, and have thus stirred up trouble. But all of that is exactly what the red beast behind the CCP wants you to do. The universe is undergoing destruction, and only by encountering and accepting Dafa can a being escape this fate at the end time. How can you not take something of cosmic weight like this truly seriously? In the past even the universe's divine beings didn't know about the existence of the way in the universe, and yet today it is being offered to human beings for their spiritual development. What a special destiny you have! And how immense is the grace behind it? Think about how you should regard it, then. All along, since the day Dafa was first taught to the public, I have taken into consideration that human beings, and even divine beings, have committed countless sins during their many lifetimes in the long span of the universe. And this holds especially true for human beings. Lives can only be saved, when that's the case, by having their past sins forgiven. Think about how incredibly immense Dafa's saving grace is, how tremendous the compassion being shown is, and how sacred the divine grace that's being bestowed is. And yet how many people have realized this? Are those who look at Dafa and master with human attachments and in human ways demonstrating mindsets worthy of the tremendous missions being given them and the divine grace being shown them? The truth is, though the aim is to save as many lives as possible, it's not that during salvation there is no minimum standard involved when it comes to forgiving beings' past sins. The mind and heart are looked at, for beings both human and divine, when it is the rectification of the universe that's taking place. Since you are doing spiritual practice in a world that's troubled like never before, it is allowed for you to take some time to come to understand things. It is allowed for there to be individuals who are diligent as well as those who aren't for a little while, and for there to be individuals who understand our teachings as well as ones who are briefly confused. Human wisdom is limited, after all. But as a member of today's human race, and as a Dafa disciple, there are two things you must never do. The first is that you must not deceive your master. The second is that you must not interfere with the salvation of lives. For these are the ultimate criteria that decide whether a life gets to remain. They are not something to flout. Finally, I would like to tell you that although my compassion is nearly infinite, the requirements in place for a being to gain salvation and the standards that a Dafa disciple must meet are serious and extremely rigorous. Teacher Hung Geely, September 13, 2023. Dafa spiritual practice is serious. Practice with the heart you first had, and success is assured. These are words of truth from the spiritual community. With the teaching of Dafa, the Great Way, to the general public, many higher secrets of great importance were revealed. Their revelation was striking, like nothing before, not only to the general public, but also to those leading lives of spiritual discipline, and even to those in realms divine. One after another people, both predestined and not, came to receive Dafa's teachings and take up spiritual practice. While some began with a firm sense of commitment, there are some who have found it hard in their practice to let go of the many attachments they have developed over time. Some of them have become lax over the course of time. Add to this the time demands of work and not having handled family matters well, and these individuals have found themselves even more short on time for Fa study and exercises. And though they may occasionally take part in practitioners' group activities, they can't manage to be diligent. Over time they have come to be nothing like a practitioner of a spiritual discipline, and have even started to do things that no practitioner should. Danger is in store if they continue on like this. When each person joined the ranks of rectification Dafa disciples, their knowing side made a vow to, and signed a pledge with, the divine, and they swore by their very soul that they would fulfill the historic mission that a Dafa disciple should shoulder, so they have since been outside the authority of the three realms. And therefore I, your master, removed the names of all Dafa disciples from the ledgers of the three realms, of the human realm, of the netherworld, and even of hell. The lives of Dafa disciples have ever since been in Dafa's hands only, and freed from reincarnation, even those with sins are no longer bound for hell. Spiritual perfection awaits those who do well in their practice. They will return to their position in the new universe, where they will govern a heavenly kingdom of their own. Those who do not succeed in their self-cultivation, violate their vows, or sin against the great way will have to meet with the consequence that accords with the promise they made with their souls. But I have mercifully kept giving them more chances. They don't even realize they should be grateful for that, though, and have stubbornly held on to their attachments. Although the spiritual discipline that Dafa disciples engage in is quite loose in form, the standard for them, as individuals committed to spiritual development, is strict and solemn, and their historic missions are serious and weighty. The Dafa disciples who achieve spiritual perfection will become special beings, and in the eyes of divine ones throughout the universe they are extraordinary holy beings who have been forged during the Falun period. Why have the old forces been so harsh toward Dafa disciples? On the one hand, they are jealous of you. On the other, they look down on certain Dafa disciples who have too many and too strong of human thoughts, who are not grounded in the Fa in different situations, and who look at things in human ways. That is why tribulations are great for those who don't do well, and if it goes on like that it is downright dangerous. The Falun is now reaching its end, and the old forces want to weed out a number of people who haven't managed to truly work on themselves in their practice or who have long failed to honor their vows and fulfill their historic missions. And so they have demonic entities possess the bodies of the worst individuals who are mixed in with practitioners, and seize upon their human thinking, attachments, resentment, and other wicked thoughts to rile up practitioners who have been off from the Fa and not actually working on themselves for a long time. While it comes across as attempting to foul up the Dafa disciple community, the old forces are in actuality utilizing these people to purify the overall body of Dafa disciples, and to expose from within Dafa disciples those who have just been messing around, who can't free themselves from their attachments as they practice, who have long not been grounded in the Fa, and who have changed to the point where they can't manage to practice. At this critical time, whoever concurs with those individuals is someone being readily identified, with the goal of purging him. This is the true reason why the old forces have utilized, from behind the scenes, those individuals who are stirring up trouble these days. Those who are stirring up trouble are being controlled by demonic entities, though they are unaware of it and would of course reject the idea. The problem is that there really are some people with attachments and grievances who give them an audience, concur with them, are receptive and listen to them, and watch or read their stuff, completely disregarding the seriousness and solemnness of Dafa and spiritual practice. But Dafa is the way of heaven, and not something that anyone can disorder. What can be disordered is people's minds. And those who are acting out are precisely those whom the old forces want to do away with. People who have long veered from the Fa need to pay special heed. Those who are most apt to concur with the individuals who are stirring up trouble are people who harbor attachments, resentment, or even those who got expelled from a Dafa project meant for saving people on account of mistakes they made, or who are disgruntled. And when these people talk together and air their grievances, it is a massive display of their human thinking. We can see that the kind of people I'm referring to never evaluate things based on our teachings, the Fa, and ask themselves, is it right for me to be resentful like that? Is it befitting of a person committed to self-cultivation? Is it in line with our teachings? When a person does poorly in his spiritual practice, it's a personal matter. But when his actions do severe harm to our practice and impact our efforts to save people, it is something grave. How could human beings be allowed to disrupt this incredibly momentous rectification, when it was the work of the Creator and the multitude of divinities over millions upon millions of years, for the purpose of saving all lives? Such disruptions are an incomparable sin that no being in any realm should dare whatsoever to commit. There are also some who claim that they have long since stopped practicing, and think that they're no longer one of us and so it's fine for them to say or do things that are harmful to Dafa. I'll say this to them: you were able to join in the practice back when you did because you had made a pledge with your life. It doesn't matter how old you are or however long ago it may have been, vows are a solemn thing. What this means is that, for those who are saying they no longer practice, it doesn't matter if you left Dafa long ago or recently, you need to make good on your vow even if you don't practice anymore. It is an incredibly solemn thing that you originally wanted to become a disciple of the great way of the universe during the Falun period. That is a choice of tremendous significance for any being, and the vow was signed with your very life. Do you think it's as simple as deciding to practice if you want to, and not if you don't? Could a human being be allowed to brush off a responsibility of cosmic scale as well as divine ones and the Creator? You must make good on your vow once you have signed it. Out of compassion, I am giving this teaching again and for the last time to this group of people. Do yourself a favor and choose the path forward that is in your best interest. Shouldn't the seriousness of your spiritual practice be apparent when the old forces have marshaled the full force of a massive nation controlled by the wicked Chinese Communist Party to suppress us? Never in the past have human beings become divine. So how could this not be a serious matter? Are the painful lessons from the Dafa disciples who didn't do well in their practice not enough to wake you up? Teacher Hung Jili, September 1, 2023. Stay out of danger. The Great Way, Dafa, is here to save people in these latter days, and it guides people to develop themselves spiritually. Some people have not truly worked on themselves spiritually, despite being among Dafa disciples. At key moments they always evaluate things with human attachments, human thinking, or human emotions. Some of them have even said things like, "I've done such and such for Dafa," or "I've sacrificed such and such amount for Dafa," etc. This group of people is the most likely to be used by evil agents of China's Communist Party, CCP. The Great Way has always existed. It has manifested in the human world only for humankind's salvation in these latter days. What could it possibly need humans to do for it? The Great Way is saving humans. It's not that human beings are doing things for the Great Way. When you, a human being, suffer from injustice, or persecution by evil, during your spiritual journey, your teacher is protecting you and bearing karma and sins for you. Your teacher doesn't owe you anything. It is solely for your salvation that he subjects himself to the verbal abuses that the wicked CCP heaps upon him. What's to be done when the creditors whom you have racked up debts with, and even those who have suffered from doings that have made you massively indebted, over many lifetimes, insist on your paying them back? The laws of the universe are also evaluating every individual. That's why you meet with tribulations on your spiritual journey, and have been subjected to persecution. Unfortunately, when you don't conduct yourself well during the persecution, your tribulations become more fierce. And when you can't overcome them, some of you begin to resent Dafa, or even me. But all of these things happen because of issues on your part. Your teacher owes you nothing. While saving you, your teacher is also bearing sins and karma for you, and is trying everything to offset them. The fact is, you owe your teacher. Don't mistakenly think that when you have helped to raise awareness about Dafa and the persecution, joined in Dafa activities, or participated in Dafa projects, you have done something for Dafa or for me. That is my providing you with ways to save and help one another, to rescue people together, and at the same time save yourselves, so during these latter days, beings are able to help save one another. You are not doing these things for the Great Way, Dafa. The Great Way has always existed, and no one can affect it. It has come to this world to save people in the end time, and man would otherwise not even know of the Great Way's existence in the universe. The purpose of Dafa disciples raising awareness is to spiritually perfect themselves while also tempering themselves through tribulations, which leads to reducing their karma. This gives even greater meaning to one's spiritual practice, and makes it all the more magnificent. This too is not done for Dafa's sake, but for one's own. The mistreatment and injustices that you suffer during the persecution are meant to work off your sins. It is not that you are bearing something for Dafa's sake, much less for your teacher. Dafa is here to save all lives, including you. How could it owe you anything when it is saving you? You were the one who pledged, before the end-time disintegration, to come to this earth and practice Dafa in order to save the lives that you represent. In other words, you signed with your life to become a follower of Dafa and engage in spiritual practice under Dafa's guidance. You initially took up the practice after hearing from Dafa disciples that Dafa is here not because anyone forced you to. A person can always choose not to practice Dafa, even though you made a pledge with your life when you came to this world. But it is your own business if you want to violate that pledge, and no one else's. Whether you practice or not is your own choice. Some people say that they are practitioners, but in reality the things they do are not what practitioners of a spiritual discipline should do, and often in fact are a discredit to the title of Dafa disciple. So I want to spell out for those who have not truly worked on themselves spiritually and have grown resentful after failing to pass tests in their spiritual development, spiritual practice is about working on yourself. All that you do, including what you work on to raise awareness, and the persecution that you endure during that process, is part of your spiritual development and is what you must do and undergo. The persecution that the old forces have imposed upon you owes to the karma that you have. None of what you have done is for Dafa, nor for your teacher. Rather, your karmic debts have given the old forces something to hold against you. Is it that I, your teacher, have borne too much for you out of my compassion for all beings, and have done too much for you, in my hope that you succeed in your self-cultivation, and this has led to your taking all of that for granted? And some of you might have even thought that your teacher is benefiting from you in some way. Your teacher is bearing things for you, gaining nothing from you, and doing all that he is doing out of pity for all lives. Whether you will succeed in your spiritual journey is up to you. The rectification of the cosmos has reached the final stage, and after this period of time there will be a serious process of selection and elimination. So do what's in your best interest. Divine beings hold in high esteem the Dafa disciples who have gone through this historic period. You too should cherish yourselves, and find a way to make it through this unprecedented and most evil of persecutions. Become a true enlightened being. Through these things you will achieve what divine beings consider magnificent. Your teacher, Hung Jili, August 31, 2023. To the European Fa Conference. August 27, 2023. I would like to extend my greetings to all of the Dafa disciples attending the conference. Most people in the world today are beings from high planes who descended here to await the way and salvation by the Creator as He forges the cosmic body anew. And the mission you are entrusted with, as Dafa disciples, is to save these people. To fulfill well this great historic mission, a Dafa disciple must study the Fa well, for only with the teachings nestled in your heart and mind will you manage to do well. So you have to truly work on and be solid in your spiritual development. The goal of a Dafa conference is for everyone to learn from one another, and help one another improve, as well as to progress individually. So I hope your conference is a great success. Your teacher, Hung Jili. To the Italy Fa Conference. July 23, 2023. To the Italy Fa Conference. I would like to extend my greetings to the Dafa practitioners attending the Fa Conference in Italy. The Dafa disciples of the Fa rectification period all have a mission to assist Master in saving people. As such, the Dafa disciples of each region have become the hope of salvation for the people there. For this reason, we must each do well with our own spiritual development and shoulder this unprecedented, greatest mission and responsibility, study the teachings a lot, quickly mature, and help Master to save lives. May your Fa conference be a great success. Your teacher, Hung Jili. To the India Fa Conference. Greetings to the Falun Dafa practitioners in India. First of all, I would like to wish your Fa conference complete success. Through the conference, practitioners can see how they are progressing in studying the teachings and cultivation compared to one another, and can become diligent without letting up. In so doing, you will be able to excel at what practitioners should do, because you are, or shall be, the hope of salvation for humankind. It is your responsibility to provide salvation to the sentient beings where you live. Accordingly, you must cultivate yourselves well. Cultivate diligently and solidly and become a genuine Dafa disciple. Once again, I wish your Fa conference success. Your Master, Li Hongji. May 13, 2023. Why the Creator seeks to save all life? Why does the Creator seek to save all lives? It is because of His love for them, and because it is He who bestowed them with life. During this final phase of the cosmos's formation, stasis, degeneration, and destruction cycle, the Creator spent 200 million years making the three realms as well as planning and putting in place the many ways and opportunities by which lives could be saved, all the while laying a foundation for humanity's culture, thought, and conduct. He furthermore used His own divine body to reduce and resolve the sinful karma of the multitude of lives. He has given everything of His in order to save all life. Over the course of those 200 million years, the Creator reincarnated with multiple bodies at the same time, countless in number, and laid the foundation for humanity's culture in this world while overseeing and guarding humankind's morals. This was done so that people might, one day when, during the end times, the age of salvation would come, meet the standards set for them by divine beings. People's souls have reincarnated repeatedly over the long and drawn-out ages of history, and spent tens of millions of years in waiting. Over time, the true bodies of the souls of most of the world's people, and this holds true for all ethnicities and races, established some form of familial tie with the Creator. This led the Creator to love the world's people, His people, only more. With the arrival of the end times, it became forbidden for lives without such a tie to become human. This was done so as to ensure that the task of salvation could be better fulfilled. By that time, the true bodies of the people on this earth were all those of his people. And so too were the divine beings that people believe in, who incarnated as human beings and served to impart spiritual teachings. Their mission was to, while assuming human form, lay the cultural foundation intended by the divine for man's salvation, in the end, by the Creator. The virtuous and authentic religions they left to this world have carried on in order to uphold morality as people await their eventual salvation by the Creator. The Creator has the right to love his people, and his love is even greater for those he deems befitting of love. He is entitled to do so, and no one or no entity has the right to intervene. That is his supreme grace toward these lives. The Creator is the Lord of all divine beings in the cosmos. He is the maker of the Lord of Lords, of the King of Kings, and he is the sovereign of all lives, including the three realms: human lives, spiritual beings, and material things, all of which he made. His love is the highest and most sacred blessing for all lives. There is no greater honor for any person in this world than to be loved by him. Teacher Hung Jili, April 17, 2023. How humankind came to be. I would like to first pass along my greetings to everyone on the advent of the Chinese New Year. New Year's would normally be a time for sharing a few pleasant remarks about the occasion. But I am seeing imminent danger approaching humanity, and have been called upon by divine beings to pass along, for this reason, several things to everyone in this world. Each of what I am about to disclose is a higher, closely guarded secret, and these are being shared to provide a true picture of affairs, and to give people another chance at salvation. First is the question of how humankind came to be. From the dawn of its creation to its final days, the universe has gone through an exceptionally long passage of time consisting of 4 stages: formation, stasis, degeneration, and destruction. When the final point of the destruction stage is reached, the complete obliteration of everything in the greater cosmic body, which includes the universe in which we exist, takes place instantaneously, and all living things perish. When a person dies, it is just a matter of his physical body declining and breaking down, while his true soul, which is who he really is, and which does not die with the passing of his physical body, will continue on in a next life, being reborn. So just as the universe goes through formation, stasis, degeneration, and destruction, so too do human beings go through birth, aging, illness, and death. These are laws of the universe, to which even higher beings are subject, only the time span is longer, with the process being more drawn out in proportion to how great the beings are. Life and death are not painful for them, and they remain cognizant throughout these processes. To them it is as if but changing outfits. Put differently, normally lives do not really die. But when the universe and the cosmos disintegrate at the final stage of the formation, stasis, degeneration, destruction process, however, lives will not be reborn, and there will be no more existence of life or matter, with all turning to dust and there being only emptiness. Currently the human world is experiencing the last period in the destruction phase of the formation, stasis, degeneration, destruction progression. Everything has changed for the worse in these end times, as fated, and destruction is thus imminent. And it is for this reason that the world is so troubled. Good thoughts are rare, people's minds have become twisted, debauchery and drug abuse are rampant, and people subscribe to atheism. These are inevitable in the last stage of the cosmos, and bespeak of the time at which we have arrived. The Creator cherishes all of the heavenly beings that exist, as well as all of the lives that are good and kind, and all of the glorious creations in the cosmos. So at the beginning of the degeneration stage he led a number of divine beings to the outermost plane of the cosmic body, known generally as that which is outside the divine realm, a place where there are no divine beings, and created Earth. But Earth hadn't the capacity to exist independently. It needed for there to be a corresponding cosmic structure with which it could form a circulatory system involving life and matter. For this reason, the Creator made a larger expanse outside of the earth, which higher beings refer to as the 3 realms. Before the final time of salvation would arrive, no higher beings, however great, were to be allowed to enter or exit this expanse without the Creator's permission. The expanse of the 3 realms comprises 3 major realms: the realm of desire, U, which is made up of the lives on this earth, including humankind; a second realm, the realm of likings, Se, which is above it; and a third realm, further above, known as the realm without likings, Wu Se. Each successive realm is higher and more glorious than that below it, though none can compare to the divine realm or the many heavenly kingdoms still higher. The heaven that people normally refer to is in fact within either the realm of likings or the realm without likings, within the three realms. Each of the three realms has 10 planes within it, making for a total of 33 planes in all, if you include the three realms themselves. Human beings reside in the realm of desire, and this is the lowest of all planes, with the worst environment. Life is painful and short here, but more dreadful still is the fact that in the human world few of the things people take to be truths are actually valid. What human beings hold to be true is on the whole considered the opposite in the larger universe, but an exception is the higher truths that holy beings have taught to man. For example, the divine does not consider it right for whomever is victorious in battle to become ruler, for territory to be seized by military force, or for the powerful to be seen as heroes since killing and forcefully taking from others are involved. That is not the way of the universe, nor how higher beings go about things. Yet in the human world these are inevitable, and accepted. Those are the ways of the human world, but they are contrary to the ways of the universe. Thus, if a person wishes to return to heaven, he must follow true, higher laws and work on himself. Some people are content when they are doing a bit better in life than others. But such people are only comparing themselves with other human beings within this human realm, when everyone here is in fact living in what is considered to be the trash bin of the universe. The three realms were established at the outermost perimeter of the cosmic body, and everything here is made up of the lowest, crudest, and filthiest of particles, molecules, atoms, and the like. In the eyes of higher beings this is where the trash of the universe is cast away. They thus regard this plane of molecules as dust or clay, and see it as the lowliest of places. This is the origin of the belief held in some religions that man was made by the divine out of clay. Man was indeed formed out of matter at the molecular plane. When divine beings made man, they did so at the Creator's behest, and he instructed them to each make human beings in their own unique image. For this reason there are the white, Asian, black, and other races. While their outward appearances differ, the souls within them were given by the Creator. And that is why they have common values. The purpose that the Creator had in directing divine beings to make man, was to make use of man in the final times when he would offer all lives of the greater universe including heavenly beings salvation. But why would the Creator have divine beings create humans in such a lowly and inferior place? It was because, with this being the universe's lowest plane, it is the most grueling of places, and only when things are trying and painful may a person elevate himself through spiritual practice and shed his or her karma. When a person, amidst painful experiences, still manages to keep kind thoughts, have gratitude, and be a good person, he or she is growing through it. Salvation is a process of ascending from low to high, and so one has to start from the bottom. Life is trying for anyone living here. There are the tensions between people when they are trying to make out better, there is the terrible state of the natural environment, and there is the fact that just getting by in life takes a great deal of thought and effort, to name just a few examples. All of these circumstances provide people with opportunities to develop themselves and lessen their karma. It is certain that going through hardships can help people to atone for their sins and karma. And anyone who manages to stay good-natured amidst painful situations and interpersonal troubles is going to build up merit and virtue and, as a result, will achieve the elevation of his or her soul. With the arrival of modern times, the Creator had intended to utilize mainly the human body to save the many lives of the universe. And so the souls originally in the majority of human bodies here were replaced by those of higher beings, who incarnated in them. With a human body they could reduce their karma and sins by enduring hardship. And in this place that is devoid of truth they could, by holding fast to the higher truths taught by God or holy beings, and persevering in goodness and kindness, achieve the elevation of their souls. The end times are now upon us, and the heavenly gate that leads out of the three realms has been opened. The Creator has been selecting for deliverance those who have done as I describe. Everything in the universe had become impure during the formation, stasis, and degeneration phases, and inferior to when creation was begun. And this is why things have been heading for destruction. In other words, everything in the greater universe has gone bad, the lives of creation are no longer as good as they were in the very beginning, are no longer pure, and all of them have accrued karma and sins. And this accounts for destruction coming about. This kind of sin is what has been referred to in religious contexts as original sin. So that the universe could be saved, the Creator directed a multitude of higher beings and divine sovereigns to descend to the earth and assume human form in the setting, where they would suffer, elevate, atone for their sins, and forge themselves anew reascending to heaven as a result. The Creator has been remaking the universe at the same time as saving humankind. The new universe is perfectly pure and simply glorious. If, in a trying setting like this, a person can still keep his thoughts virtuous, if he can hold his ground against the onslaught of modern values and views, and stick to traditional ones, and if he still believes in the divine in the face of assaults from the atheist and evolutionary camps, then that person will fulfill his purpose, to gain salvation and return to heaven. All of the madness now unfolding in the world was planned as such, for the final phase, by divine beings. Their goal was to test the lives here and see whether they were worthy of salvation, and give them a chance to, in the process, work off their sins and karma while going through difficult things. And all of this was done so that people could be saved and gain deliverance back to heaven. This is to say that the purpose of people's lives on this earth isn't to accomplish something in the world. All of the intense efforts and attempts people make in life, and their drive to get what they want, which can even involve resorting to unscrupulous means, only make people immoral in the end. The reason people came to this world and became human was to atone for their sins and karma, and to make significant spiritual progress. People came to this world to gain salvation. They came and assumed human form to await the Creator and His salvation back to their heavenly kingdom. And while they waited, they built up merit over their many past lives, and that was the purpose of people's rebirths. The troubled nature of this world is meant to make something great of these lives. Of course, there are some people who, when seeking divine help in times of duress, haven't been satisfied with the outcome, and started to loathe God, even turning against Him as a result. Some have even turned to the demonic, dark side, and committed still further sins and made yet more karma. Those whom this applies to had best quickly come around and beg God for forgiveness, if they are still to have a chance of reaching safety. Everything that happens in one's life, whether it seems warranted or not, is, in reality, the karmic consequence of what one did in one's past lives, for better or for worse. The amount of blessings and virtue that one built up in one's past lives determines what fortune is in store in this lifetime, or perhaps the next. If one lives a blessed and virtuous life now, perhaps it will translate in one's next lifetime into a high position and salary, or it might translate into different kinds of wealth and fortune. And this would also include whether one has a happy family, or even how one's children turn out, and so on. This is the fundamental reason why some people are wealthy and others poor, why some hold positions of high rank while others are destitute and homeless. It's nothing like the diabolical nonsense that sinister communism spouts about equality between rich and poor. The universe is fair. Those who do good are blessed for it, while those who do wrong will face payback, if not in this life, then in the next. For this is an immutable law of the universe. Heaven, earth, the divine, and the Creator alike are compassionate toward all lives. Heaven and earth, just as with man and the divine, were made by the Creator, and it is never the case that He plays favorites with some lives and shortchanges others. The reason some people lead happy lives and others do not all comes down to rewards and retributions for past deeds. When you see people winning or losing in life, it appears to come about in a normal way from things in this world. But it is ultimately the karmic consequences of those people's past doings. Whether people have something or not, or are winning or losing in life, is going to play out in ways that accord with this world. So no matter whether you are rich or poor in life, you should be sure to do good, refrain from doing wrong, stay good and kind, be spiritual and devout, and be happy to help others. And by doing so you will build up blessings and virtue, and reap their rewards in the next life. In the past, the older generation in China would often talk about things like not lamenting your lot in life when things are hard, and about earning a better next life by gaining virtue through good deeds. And the point was that it's useless praying to God for help if you didn't do good things in your former life and earn blessings. The universe has its laws, and even higher beings must obey them. Even they will be punished if they do things they shouldn't. So things are not as simple as people take them to be. Should people expect higher beings to give them whatever they pray for? The prerequisite is that one has to have built up the blessings and virtue for it over past lifetimes. And so the things that come to you are on account of the blessings and virtue you have. This is what the laws of the universe dictate. But speaking on a fundamental level, getting what you want is not the ultimate goal of accumulating blessings and virtue. The real purpose of building those up is to pave the way for you back to heaven. And that is what's most crucial, not the brief round of happiness that they can bring you in this lifetime. Teacher Hung Geely, January 20, 2023. Greetings to the European Fa Conference. My greetings to the Dafa disciples attending the European Fa Conference. During the Fa Conference, you will be sharing personal cultivation experiences with your fellow practitioners, and, thereby, finding your own shortcomings so as to improve yourselves in cultivation down the road. This is terrific. As Dafa disciples, this is necessary because only by improving yourselves in cultivation can you do well what you should do. I wish your Fa conference complete success. Your Hungji, September 11, 2022. Teacher. Li. To the Czechoslovak Fa conference, March 5, 2022. My greetings to the Dafa disciples attending the Czechoslovak Fa conference. Each Dafa disciple must persist in studying the Fa well no matter the circumstance. Only by doing so will you be able to fulfill your historic mission as a Dafa disciple, and assist Master in saving lives. You are the hope of the lives of the race or ethnic group that you were born into. Do well the things that you should do. May this be your best conference yet. Your teacher, Hungji Li. To the Czechoslovak Fa conference. March 5, 2022. My greetings to the Dafa disciples attending the Czechoslovak Fa conference. Each Dafa disciple must persist in studying the Fa well no matter the circumstance. Only by doing so will you be able to fulfill your historic mission as a Dafa disciple, and assist Master in saving lives. You are the hope of the lives of the race or ethnic group that you were born into. Do well the things that you should do. May this be your best conference yet. Your teacher, Hungji Li. To the 2021 Dafa conference in Taiwan, my greetings to the Dafa disciples attending the conference. You came to this world for the purpose of studying the Fa well and saving people by informing them of the truth. Nothing should be able to affect you, no matter what strata of society you are a part of, and no amount of upheaval in this world should be able to alter your mission as a Dafa disciple. Do well with your spiritual development, and save the people of this world. Your teacher, Hungji Li, December 18, 2021. Wake up. The Fa's rectification of the cosmos has finished, and now a transition to the Fa's rectification of the human world is taking place. Most of our Dafa disciples will join me as the Fa rectifies the human world. However, during the course of it, numerous lives with enormous karma as well as members of the wicked Communist Party will be weeded out and annihilated. And along with this, there are those among Dafa practitioners who have not made good on the vows they signed with their lives at the time of coming to this world, such as, for example, by not having done well what Dafa disciples are supposed to do, or not having worked on saving people, and who as a result have strong human thinking and have long had a negative effect on the environment for spiritual development among practitioners. And still others have followed certain individuals who have gone awry in their understanding of the Fa, or have followed undercover agents of the CCP who pose as practitioners, and have been seriously disruptive to others. For all of them there will be consequences in keeping with the vows that they made. More specifically, some people have long been burdened with feelings of attraction, but have paid little heed to it, and this has made them targets of agents who pose as practitioners, and they fall into their snares ever more deeply, turning a deaf ear to anyone's advice. To give an example, I talked about a certain woman who ran off from Singapore to Japan, yet some people still didn't come to their senses. I didn't name names at the time, as she wasn't worthy of that. She acts as though she is diligent, pretends to be docile, and is good at fooling people. Several people have been going along with her and have gone awry in their understanding of our teachings, like her. Among them are some who admire her supposed supernormal powers, and have been lured by her. She often claims to have connections with others from past lives. Some practitioners, upon hearing provocative remarks like those, which have been audaciously made to them as members of the opposite sex, have actually been very much charmed by her and believed her. Those who this applies to are now in the greatest danger. There is also a certain segment of practitioners, among whom are veterans to the practice, who are regularly involved in Dafa work and who have continued to study the Fa, but who aren't able to overcome certain blocks at critical moments. The great way that you practice is what created all life in the universe, it is what has forged extraordinary divine beings, and is also what has created the tiniest of viruses and bacteria. You are someone who leads a life of spiritual development under the great way and who helps me to save people, and while saving people you have helped to eliminate for many people bacteria and viruses thousands of times more potent than those of any epidemic. And yet you haven't managed to handle the matter of the pandemic properly, on a personal level. Some practitioners have been afraid of getting infected, while others have adamantly refused to get vaccinated. In either case, you should stop and ask yourself whether you are living up to the title of Dafa disciple. This of course includes some female practitioners who are pregnant. But it's not that I am telling you whether to get vaccinated, nor how the epidemic may impact you. Don't be extreme either way. Doing that stems from human thinking. What I want to tell you is that you are sizing yourself up with human thinking, rather than viewing things from the perspective of someone who is devoted to spiritual practice. And that is because there is a flaw in how you have developed yourself spiritually. At present there are also some among us who are very much attached to political happenings and ordinary people's controversies. Don't forget what we are here to do. It is not your duty to turn society around. Society is now at its very end, and all of the bad things that are happening are inevitable. All of what we do is for the purpose of saving people. The old universe is what it is, let it be. Your responsibility is to rescue and deliver lives to the new universe. What's needed for the next historical era, the Fa's rectification of the human world, is for people to be saved and delivered to the world that is being rectified by the Fa, and for the culture and ways of tradition to be revived. Although there hasn't been a Fa conference in quite some time, what I want to convey is no different, and is for the purpose of helping you to stay on the right course on your journey of spiritual development and to ultimately fulfill the vows you made before the dawn of history. You have made it through scores of difficulties on your journey, and shouldn't be tripping and falling at the end. Even though from time to time there are people doing foolish things, the title of Dafa disciple is something even divinities admire and wish they could have. Hung Geely, November 18, 2021. A strong and urgent warning. Some individuals have been talking online in public forums about issues they have with others, though these were meant to be worked through as part of their spiritual practice in Dafa. That goes terribly against one's historic mission as a Dafa disciple. It defiles the solemn and sacred oaths that one made to the divine, as a Dafa disciple, with one's life, and is diminishing people's hopes of salvation. These individuals often allow the mental attachments that they have to morph into resentment, and then look for people to vent to. And yet some people have chimed in or helped to boost those sentiments. Evidently, people tend to seek out those with a similar spiritual state as theirs. These individuals aren't pained that they didn't do well back when they were in China, that their thinking even went down a dark path, or by the shame of having done the devil's bidding. Nor have they drawn lessons from what happened before and earnestly corrected their mistakes, tried to pinpoint where they fall short, and become more diligent. To the contrary, they haven't been strict with themselves, and now they are negatively impacting things outside of China. It is mostly these individuals who are stirring up trouble among practitioners. More serious still, some of them were not diligent before, were loaded with attachments, and did poorly back in China, only to now be abroad but still be the same. They never live up to our teachings, the Fa, and in fact have started up their own social media channels or websites and are driven by their attachments to say all sorts of irresponsible things, which has severely compromised Dafa disciples' efforts to save people. The majority of the online comments that go along with them are from the 50-cent party and the CCP secret agents, with just a few coming from people who don't really practice but call themselves practitioners. The final hour by which a Dafa disciple must have fulfilled his mission is imminent. Think about where you want to end up, and do what is in your best interest. While in this world, a Dafa disciple is to do well in spiritually developing himself and fulfilling his historic mission of helping me to save people. The very reason that human society still exists today is so that Dafa may save people. It's about time you woke up, isn't it? Let your discontentment and resentment go, it's just an attachment. And start watching what you say. It's not your place to speak among practitioners about things that aren't in line with the Fa. Make good on your mission, your very future depends upon it. Spiritual perfection is only possible for a Dafa disciple who takes the Fa's teachings as his guide and doesn't lose the heart he had at the start. Hung Geely, August 31, 2021. To the Fa Conference in Germany, July 18, 2021. To the Dafa disciples attending the Fa Conference in Germany. Greetings to you all. It is the responsibility of Dafa disciples to help me in saving all lives. To carry out your mission well, you must first do well in your own spiritual development. Only with the Fa's guidance will you know how to do better, and only with the Fa's guidance will you manage to avoid going wrong. At the same time, the Fa is molding you into an extraordinary being. A Fa conference of Dafa disciples is thus an opportunity to spur your progress. May your conference be a success. I thank you all. Your teacher, Hung Geely. Greetings to the Taiwan Fa Conference. To the Dafa disciples attending the Taiwan Fa Conference. Greetings to you all. Dafa is about spiritual practice. The goal of practice for a Dafa disciple is spiritual perfection. The human world is now at the end of its latter days, and the degenerate and chaotic things that have come about in these troubled times are affecting society more than ever. Though a battle between good and evil is taking place, you have to ensure that you do not let it negatively affect you, and should do even better at getting the truth out and saving people. And as you work to raise awareness, you must be sure not to think or act too much like an ordinary person. Only by staying clear on what you are doing will you manage to not get caught up in things and do even better. May your Fa conference be a success. Your teacher. Hung Geely 2020. On the general election. In this majestic universe, the communist devil is making trouble. Fraud and corruption are harming a great nation. All the machinations make people only more despondent. When will justice be upheld and our conscience restored? Hung Geely November 8, 2020. Another stern warning. My greetings to the practitioners of Japan. Looking at things as they now stand, I have no choice but to say a few words in order to make things settle down. Spiritual cultivation is about progressing to divinity, and all human attachments act as impediments. And the path is narrow in our case. If you are even just a bit careless, you might veer off course, and problems will follow, potentially big ones. And if you fail to find your way back, you will regret it forever. The benchmark that you must meet in terms of self-improvement is exceedingly strict, because Dafa disciples are meant to achieve a divine standing even greater than usual, and each of you is tasked with saving the countless, innumerable lives of high levels of your respective cosmic domain. It is an enormous responsibility. So with such a great divine standing awaiting you at success, the difficulties that you face, ones of all kinds, are going to be great as well, and this includes the exceptional challenges that come with practicing in this beguiling place. Most of you must unceasingly make diligent progress and not slack off despite the challenges of doing spiritual practice while not having awareness of all that you have actually achieved spiritually. The bodies of those who cultivate to great heights and who have great responsibilities are more strictly sealed off. Nobody, with the exception of me alone, may know what a Dafa disciple's spiritual standing or situation really is, for this is something that relates directly to the purity of the new universe. Over the years there have always been secret agents who have posed as practitioners, as well as people whom the old forces had arranged in the early days to be practitioners, but who lay low. And then, at the appointed time, they spring out and do what they were bound to do. But these kinds of people are all the more deceptive for having come across as one of us for quite some time. In most cases the human sides, the outermost form, of these individuals are not aware of this. And in some cases they really have taken up Dafa after witnessing its greatness and virtue, managing to follow the requirements that I set forth, firmly. Negating the old forces' designs, and becoming true Dafa practitioners. Of course, the old forces did this on the grounds that there would be people who have attachments, who would want to know how they are progressing with their spiritual cultivation, who envy people with supernormal abilities, or who mistake the karma elimination process for illness, and therefore yearn to ask someone with such alleged powers to take a look at them. For this reason, from time to time over the course of your spiritual journey there will be a few individuals popping up who allegedly have such powers, and who seem to quote my teachings with every sentence they speak. But these pretentious people are in fact quoting my words out of context and using them to justify what they are doing, and are misleading practitioners who yearn for such things. Some practitioners have gotten seriously confused, and there are even people who have spread word among practitioners about how capable those seemingly supernormal ones are. This has caused disturbances to our practitioners' cultivation, and has disrupted the designs I had in place for your spiritual paths. A person's cultivation is a rigorous process, with every aspect closely linked, and not a single moment or step of it can afford to be disrupted. The person who has gone to Japan from Singapore and who is always quoting my teachings out of context and ruining practitioners does indeed have issues, but you should ask yourselves, isn't this actually a problem of your own making? Hasn't this resulted from the weaknesses of certain practitioners who yearn for things being preyed upon? This has caused quite a disturbance among practitioners and severely disrupted your normal practice. So wouldn't you say this is a problem? Nobody, other than me, can tell how a Dafa disciple's practice is going or what the state of his body is, for this has bearing on the safety of the future universe. I have taught this many times and on many occasions, and you have all understood the idea. So why are you believing all that nonsense? It's likely that there are some insignificant problems at the surface level of a person, which might be seen by someone with extrasensory abilities. But those problems are not going to affect you in any fundamental way. Yet if someone tries to see how other practitioners are progressing spiritually or what sickness karma they might have, and makes irresponsible remarks, then that does interfere with their practice. If he is identifying your attachments, then is it you or him that's actually doing the spiritual cultivation? Each individual must discern his or her own attachments, and it is going through that process that amounts to genuine spiritual growth. So it could hardly count as you're working on yourself spiritually if all of your problems are pointed out by others. Of course, while you practice, I do make use of others' mouths to drop hints to you, as your spiritual development is something I, and not those people, arrange. I have to ask those of you who like to listen to and believe those people's nonsense, are you taking them as your master? Do you really have faith in me? This outermost form of the human body is actually quite complicated. Those who can supposedly see things with extrasensory powers are not able to make out how things really are at each of its layers or perceive how all of those work together. The majority of people today are divinities who came here from heavens above, and they wouldn't be able to live here were they not to act as human beings do. And so in many cases they must be given certain animal traits when they incarnate, if they are to live here and go about things as humans. Didn't Shakyamuni's mother have a vision of a white elephant at the time of his birth? Something like that has to be done with all beings who come here from the heavens. Those who can supposedly see things haven't the ability to discern what I've just described, much less know about this divine secret, and yet some people are making reckless claims that this or that person is the reincarnation of such and such from the past. The outermost form of man is very complex, and the things involved in other dimensions are numerous. I had no choice today but to reveal this divine secret, in order for you to get out of this terrible situation. But do you know what the consequences will be? Do you think that the old forces will let those of you who are in the thick of it get off the hook? Some people have still been trying to defend this person even after Minghui addressed the matter, and have even aired their opinions online. Are you trying to disrupt even more Dafa disciples' practice? Did you feel that Minghui's reporting was unfair? Isn't it attachments at work when you get so agitated by something? Is that how a spiritual practitioner should be? Have you not thought about your own shortcomings in all of this? That said, I want to share that Master very much cherishes all of you who are Dafa disciples and have made it through since July 20th of 1999. And the countless gods above hold you in high regard, as well. But you should cherish yourselves, too. Snap out of it? You have made it through the toughest leg of the journey, so it makes no sense to fail miserably at something so basic in the end. My advice to you is to steer clear of that person and not give them an audience. Salvation is offered to all people, so the people who posted those things online, whoever you are, you had better take them down. If those things remain, they will become concrete evidence that prevents you from attaining spiritual perfection. I'll say one more thing, every moment in your life is part of your spiritual journey, and at every moment I am looking after you. Don't bring any disruptions to yourself. Instead, do well with what little of the journey remains. Hongji, July 5, 2020. Another stern warning. My greetings to the practitioners of Japan. Looking at things as they now stand, I have no choice but to say a few words in order to make things settle down. Spiritual cultivation is about progressing to divinity, and all human attachments act as impediments. And the path is narrow in our case. If you are even just a bit careless, you might veer off course, and problems will follow, potentially big ones. And if you fail to find your way back, you will regret it forever. The benchmark that you must meet in terms of self-improvement is exceedingly strict, because Dafa disciples are meant to achieve a divine standing even greater than usual, and each of you is tasked with saving the countless, innumerable lives of high levels of your respective cosmic domain. It is an enormous responsibility. So with such a great divine standing awaiting you at success, the difficulties that you face, ones of all kinds, are going to be great as well, and this includes the exceptional challenges that come with practicing in this beguiling place. Most of you must unceasingly make diligent progress and not slack off despite the challenges of doing spiritual practice while not having awareness of all that you have actually achieved spiritually. The bodies of those who cultivate to great heights and who have great responsibilities are more strictly sealed off. Nobody, with the exception of me alone, may know what a Dafa disciple's spiritual standing or situation really is, for this is something that relates directly to the purity of the new universe. Over the years there have always been secret agents who have posed as practitioners, as well as people whom the old forces had arranged in the early days to be practitioners, but who lay low. And then, at the appointed time, they spring out and do what they were bound to do. But these kinds of people are all the more deceptive for having come across as one of us for quite some time. In most cases the human sides, The outermost form of these individuals are not aware of this. And in some cases they really have taken up Dafa after witnessing its greatness and virtue, managing to follow the requirements that I set forth, firmly negating the old forces' designs, and becoming true Dafa practitioners. Of course, the old forces did this on the grounds that there would be people who have attachments, who would want to know how they are progressing with their spiritual cultivation, who envy people with supernormal abilities, or who mistake the karma elimination process for illness, and therefore yearn to ask someone with such alleged powers to take a look at them. For this reason, from time to time over the course of your spiritual journey there will be a few individuals popping up who allegedly have such powers, and who seem to quote my teachings with every sentence they speak. But these pretentious people are in fact quoting my words out of context and using them to justify what they are doing, and are misleading practitioners who yearn for such things. Some practitioners have gotten seriously confused, and there are even people who have spread word among practitioners about how capable those seemingly supernormal ones are. This has caused disturbances to our practitioners' cultivation, and has disrupted the designs I had in place for your spiritual paths. A person's cultivation is a rigorous process, with every aspect closely linked, and not a single moment or step of it can afford to be disrupted. The person who has gone to Japan from Singapore and who is always quoting my teachings out of context and ruining practitioners does indeed have issues, but you should ask yourselves, isn't this actually a problem of your own making? Hasn't this resulted from the weaknesses of certain practitioners who yearn for things being preyed upon? This has caused quite a disturbance among practitioners and severely disrupted your normal practice. So wouldn't you say this is a problem? Nobody, other than me, can tell how a Dafa disciple's practice is going or what the state of his body is, for this has bearing on the safety of the future universe. I have taught this many times and on many occasions, and you have all understood the idea. So why are you believing all that nonsense? It's likely that there are some insignificant problems at the surface level of a person, which might be seen by someone with extrasensory abilities. But those problems are not going to affect you in any fundamental way. Yet if someone tries to see how other practitioners are progressing spiritually or what sickness karma they might have, and makes irresponsible remarks, then that does interfere with their practice. If he is identifying your attachments, then is it you or him that's actually doing the spiritual cultivation? Each individual must discern his or her own attachments, and it is going through that process that amounts to genuine spiritual growth. So it could hardly count as you're working on yourself spiritually if all of your problems are pointed out by others. Of course, while you practice I do make use of others' mouths to drop hints to you, as your spiritual development is something I, and not those people, arrange. I have to ask those of you who like to listen to and believe those people's nonsense, are you taking them as your master? Do you really have faith in me? This outermost form of the human body is actually quite complicated. Those who can supposedly see things with extrasensory powers are not able to make out how things really are at each of its layers or perceive how all of those work together. The majority of people today are divinities who came here from heavens above, and they wouldn't be able to live here were they not to act as human beings do. And so in many cases they must be given certain animal traits when they incarnate, if they are to live here and go about things as humans. Didn't Shakyamuni's mother have a vision of a white elephant at the time of his birth? Something like that has to be done with all beings who come here from the heavens. Those who can supposedly see things haven't the ability to discern what I've just described, much less know about this divine secret, and yet some people are making reckless claims that this or that person is the reincarnation of such and such from the past. The outermost form of man is very complex, and the things involved in other dimensions are numerous. I had no choice today but to reveal this divine secret, in order for you to get out of this terrible situation. But do you know what the consequences will be? Do you think that the old forces will let those of you who are in the thick of it get off the hook? Some people have still been trying to defend this person even after Minghui addressed the matter, and have even aired their opinions online. Are you trying to disrupt even more Dafa disciples' practice? Did you feel that Minghui's reporting was unfair? Isn't it attachments at work when you get so agitated by something? Is that how a spiritual practitioner should be? Have you not thought about your own shortcomings in all of this? That said, I want to share that Master very much cherishes all of you who are Dafa disciples and have made it through since July 20th of 1999. And the countless gods above hold you in high regard, as well. But you should cherish yourselves, too. Snap out of it. You have made it through the toughest leg of the journey, so it makes no sense to fail miserably at something so basic in the end. My advice to you is to steer clear of that person and not give them an audience. Salvation is offered to all people, so the people who posted those things online, whoever you are, you had better take them down. If those things remain, they will become concrete evidence that prevents you from attaining spiritual perfection. I'll say one more thing, every moment in your life is part of your spiritual journey, and at every moment I am looking after you. Don't bring any disruptions to yourself. Instead, do well with what little of the journey remains. Hung-Jili, July 5, 2020. November 23, 2019. To the Dafa disciples attending the Epoch Times and NTD Experience Sharing Conference. Greetings to you all. Your companies were established when the evil was at its wildest, and you have had the greatest possible impact in providing the truth at a time when it is essential to people. You have made it through the toughest phase. You strike fear into the evil ones, while at the same time giving hope to good people everywhere. Dafa disciples' work is not done yet. There is magnificent virtue to be had for you as Dafa disciples if you can do well in your own cultivation and take the media to the next level. It's not easy to walk one's path well when the going is tough, but you have done just that. I wish you newfound success, and thank you. Your teacher. Hung-Jili, stay rational. Pandemics and plagues one are part of a divine plan and inevitable in the course of history. When people become immoral they generate karma, become sick, and experience disastrous things. In such circumstances, people who do not believe in the divine then resort to various measures or kyoshi in Chinese to try to deal with things. But the fact that kyoshi is a homophone for another term in Chinese, which means mistaken approach, is telling. There have been many helpful lessons left to us from history, but they are not taken seriously by Chinese people today owing to their atheistic thinking and their disbelief in the divine, both of which are the product of brainwashing by China's Communist Party, CCP. Truth be told, pandemics only come when people's morals and values have turned bad and they have come to have a massive amount of karma. So if a pandemic is divinely ordained, what can be done to stop it? It would be divine will, after all. Some people do realize this and pray for protection, but it probably won't help. That is because people are supposed to be weeded out when their moral character has turned bad and their karma has become huge. Why would the divine offer them protection at that point, then? What people should do, instead, is to repent to the divine with all due sincerity, admit to their faults, and pray for a chance to change their ways. That is the way to go, and that is the magic cure. But a pandemic like the current Chinese communist virus, or Wuhan virus, comes with a purpose behind it, and it has targets. It is here to weed out members of the party and those who have sided with it. If anyone is in doubt about this, just take a look at which countries or people have been hit hardest by the virus. It is those who have become close with the CCP. Then what should people do? People should distance themselves from the CCP and stop siding with the party. Behind it is the Red Devil, while outwardly it looks and acts like a thug who stops at no evil. So now that the divine is starting to eradicate it, all who still stand by it shall perish. Those who doubt this can wait and see. Any Dafa disciples who have not been diligent, or who are prone to acting in extreme ways, should immediately straighten themselves out, and sincerely study the Fa and work on themselves, for you are at great risk. True Dafa disciples have higher energy and are able to destroy karma and germs. They are emissaries of salvation in these latter days, and bring their wisdom to bear upon saving people as they share truthful information related to our practice. Also, I should mention that there are practitioners in many regions who are calling upon everyone to send righteous thoughts together to put an end to the Chinese communist virus, Wuhan virus. But that is not the right idea. You are not here to change history, but rather, to save people at this most dangerous time in history, by raising awareness, persuading people to withdraw from China's 3 major communist organizations, encouraging people to sincerely say the magic words too, and so on. All of these are the best medicine possible, the best way to rescue people. When people's morals change, things will change for the better. The CCP is in its death throes and trying to harm people by causing pandemonium in the world. Dafa disciples should not allow themselves to get ungrounded by any of this. Stick to the fundamentals, and you will be able to see the upheaval that's taking place in the proper light. Hung-Jili, March 19, 2021. The Chinese term used here, when I, refers to both plagues as well as pandemics more broadly. To a reference to either of the two affirmations people often recite, to magical effect, in Chinese, Falun Dafa Hao, which is often translated as, literally, Falun Dafa is good, and Zhen-Shan-Ren, Zhen-Shan-Ren, which translates directly as honesty, compassion, and forbearance are excellent values. Translation by Team Yellow, subject to further improvement. Date of this version, March 23, 2020. Dafa disciples are fulfilling their missions. October 13, 2019. My greetings to all Dafa disciples attending the Fa conference in Australia. As things now stand, Dafa disciples all around the world have thoroughly ruptured the lies and distortions that the wicked Chinese Communist Party used to persecute us in its global propaganda attempts, countered their negative influence, and straightened out the mess that they had made. Disciples have accomplished this through a variety of means, including launching media, starting up websites, and doing things to make the truth known, such as government outreach. All of this has helped governments and people around the world to see the kind and beautiful nature of Dafa and its practitioners, and at the same time allowed people everywhere to learn of the CCP's crimes against humanity and its vile, roguish, and reprehensible behavior. And all of this has turned things around. What I really should congratulate you for, is the fact that your efforts to get the truth out have allowed a great quantity of people around the world to be saved, and that great numbers in China have quit the three main communist organizations there, and so there is hope for them now. Of course, only Dafa and Dafa disciples could achieve all of this. So if you wish to do still better, then study the Fa well, for only this makes it possible, and only this will allow you to complete your historic missions. I'll end by wishing your Fa conference success. Your Hung Jili teacher. Greetings to the South America Fa conference. September 15, 2019. To the Dafa disciples attending the Fa conference. Greetings to you all. The spiritual practice done in Dafa is different from that in other religions and practices, because you have a mission as Dafa disciples, which is, to save beings while you journey towards spiritual perfection. It is a responsibility you must assume, as most people in this world came from the heavens and became human in order to receive the Fa teachings. This mission is what makes a Dafa disciple magnificent, for you are meant to become divine beings of extraordinary heights. I hope you will study the Fa more, do more to let the truth be known, and each do well on your own path of spiritual cultivation. Your teacher. Hung Jili. Greetings to the Dafa disciples attending the Fa Conference of Europe. The self-cultivation that Dafa disciples do is not merely for their own spiritual perfection, but also to help me save all lives. You have a mission to fulfill, and that is why you had the opportunity to become disciples of Dafa. The human world is a deluding place, a dimension where you cannot see the universe or lives as they truly are. But for exactly this reason people are able to develop spiritually here. When a person cannot see things as they truly are, yet still believes in the divine, still resists the currents of this world and even transcends it, and still looks inward when experiencing friction or strife, difficulties, or injustice, and makes a priority of virtuous thought and conduct on his part, then what he is doing is indeed developing spiritually. Any higher beings that witness this will find the person worthy of becoming divine. And doing this is what makes it possible for you to achieve spiritual perfection. You are beings of that caliber. And moreover, as Dafa disciples you are assisting me in saving lives while being subjected to persecution. Never before has any faith group or any spiritual adherent done something like this. Difficult as it may be, it is something that you have actually done. Those of you who haven't done well so far should, with the time you still have, get going, and do well what you should be doing before it's over. May your Fa conference be a success. Your teacher. Hung Ji, August 31. Li 2019. Translation by Team Yellow. To the Fa conference in France. My greetings to all Dafa disciples attending the Fa conference. Keep up with the progress of Fa rectification and make an overall breakthrough in Europe. While cultivating yourselves well, you should be doing well at saving sentient beings. I hope that you will truly elevate through the Fa conference. Identify where you fall short and do better. You are the hope of humankind. Get going and get active, and, like the Dafa disciples in North America, don't shy away from the difficulties that you meet with. Don't be blocked by man-made constraints. And don't be intimidated by the evil, for these historic days are given to you. Master, August 4, 2019, translation by Team Yellow. To the Canada Fa Conference. Greetings to all Dafa disciples attending the Fa Conference. The old forces never intended for Dafa to survive the evil they forged with fire and blood. But through the strength of your conviction, through the sacred vows that brought you to this earth, through the personal bonds and ties of destiny you established over many lifetimes, through your rational understanding of Dafa, and through the righteous thoughts that Dafa has given you and the ultimate protection from the Fa and its powers, you have made it through. Do well what remains to be done, and head toward the future with a cultivation journey free of regret. I wish you much enlightenment and success. Your teacher. Li Hongji. July 21, 2019. Translation by Team Yellow. To the practitioners of Vietnam. I send my regards to the Falun Gong practitioners of Vietnam. Cultivation is a process of elevating the soul, and it begins by becoming, bit by bit, a good person, and progressively becoming ever better, such that you become more virtuous than non-practitioners and, ultimately, someone higher. So if people fail to understand you, or even if you face any pressure from the government, you shouldn't take countermeasures like non-practitioners would, and should clarify things to people with kindness. Ever since the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, started persecuting Falun Gong, it has been painting itself into a corner owing to pressure both internally as well as internationally. And persecuting spiritual believers has pushed its regime to the brink of collapse. CCP special agents who have infiltrated the Vietnamese government have, in order to shift the pressure away, used money, diplomatic means, and business interests to persuade the government to suppress Falun Gong practitioners. It has done this in hopes of shifting the attention of the international community and mitigating the pressure it has brought upon itself by persecuting Falun Gong in China. So our practitioners in Vietnam should maintain their composure during this unusual time, and for now not engage in large-scale activities meant to raise awareness, much less take countermeasures. Cultivation is about working on oneself, after all, and removing attachments, so for the time being you can study the Fa and do the exercises mainly on your own, and not organize large group study sessions or exercises. Don't let any lies from the media agitate or provoke you. Just quietly observe things. If anyone tries to stir things up, there are problems on that person's part. Be sure to keep this in mind. Looked at from another angle, the fact that the CCP was able to launch its persecution of Falun Gong was due to the accumulation of massive amounts of evil entities and karma, simply hordes of evil things, in other dimensions over the course of the ages. And it is those things that have been using the CCP to attack Falun Gong practitioners, which has made circumstances so incredibly strained for us. But as higher beings see it, it was only inevitable that those evil things would resist being eliminated, as was fated, during the cosmos's purification. So they caused the tremendous pressure in the human world, and especially in China, for all lives as well as practitioners, and brought about the chaotic and degenerate phenomena that have appeared in society. The evil specter of Chinese communism alone cannot account for all this. Righteous gods would have destroyed it the moment it started to persecute spiritual cultivators. Now, with the persecution having gone on for nearly 20 years, that accumulation of evil things has been wiped out. And the evil specter that is Chinese communism is likewise in the final stage of being annihilated. It's not possible for anyone to again launch something like the CCP's persecution of Falun Gong, as the evil factors in other dimensions are gone. Human beings couldn't do anything like that without the support of massive evil forces. Zhen-Shan-Ren being genuine, kind, and composed are universal values recognized by everyone, and only stand to benefit any people or nation. Even if you do meet with persecution, you should still handle everything with the benevolence of someone on the spiritual path. As a steadfast practitioner you can, just by not letting anything affect you, prevail over any situation. Li Hongji. Dafa. November 27, 2018. To the Taiwan Experience Sharing Conference. Dafa disciples attending the Taiwan Experience Sharing Conference, greetings, everyone. A Dafa Disciples Fa Conference is a great opportunity for improving together, finding where you fall short, and rectifying your cultivation state. Practicing cultivation is not about attaining anything in the world, rather it has to do with the elevation of a being and the making of a being's future, especially at this final stage. It is a being's choice of whether or not to exist in the future. The worldly principles for people's existence and the state of their existence are not the true state of beings in the universe. The principles of the human world will not become the Deo. Likewise, the state of human existence is not the true state of beings in the universe. Obtaining Dafa is the fundamental purpose of your being human. Do not be interfered with by the chaotic manifestations of the murky human world. Practice cultivation in the way you did when you first began, and the Deo will be achieved. Be even more diligent as the end draws nearer. May the Fa Conference be a complete success. Li Hongji. To the 2018 Asia Fa Conference. Greetings to all Dafa disciples attending the Asia Fa Conference. The final salvation is sure to occur at a time when human morality has collapsed. The evil outweighing the good, the pressure of the persecution, and the instilling of lies will all bring about difficulty in saving people, but most of you have done very well. Actually, if there were no difficulty, there would be no need for cultivators of Dafa to do the saving. If there were no difficulty, then of course the mighty virtue of Dafa disciples wouldn't be displayed. All those who are saved will become your future sentient beings. You are the hope of sentient beings. You are also the future. Master, Li Hongji, October 14, 2018. To the European Fa Conference. Dafa disciples in Europe, greetings to you all. Dafa disciples are the only hope for humankind's salvation. Dafa disciples in Europe, do your tasks well, for they are your responsibility, as well as your mighty virtue and honor. Li Hongji, September 29, 2018. On Falun Dafa's classification in the ordinary world. No religion was ever described as being a religion by its teacher when he was first imparting it, but in every case came to be classified as such by the rest of society. So it is fine to accept people's designation of us as a religious organization and to register it as such, so as to adhere to society's legal norms. Li Hongji, April 23, 2018. A congratulatory letter to the European Fa Conference in Paris. My greetings to the Dafa disciples attending the European Fa Conference in Paris. Dafa disciples are the hope of humankind, the one and only hope. It is our mission to save lives, and a tremendous responsibility. Only by cultivating yourselves well can you do well what Dafa disciples must do. Fa conferences are good opportunities for you to inspire one another and improve together. I hope all of you will benefit from it and will cultivate yourselves even better. I wish your Fa conference great success. Li Hongji, September 2017, New York. To the Fa conference in Japan. My greetings to the Dafa disciples of Japan and all practitioners attending the Fa conference. Dafa disciples are the hope of the future, and shoulder the historic responsibility of saving sentient beings. It is imperative that Dafa disciples study the Fa well if they are to fulfill their tremendous missions. All of this can only be done, and accomplished successfully, when you cultivate yourselves well. Dafa is the way of the cosmos, and so the title Dafa disciple is something sacred. In striving to save all lives and demonstrate the validity of Dafa, may you perfect yourselves spiritually. May your Fa conference be a great success. Li Hongji, September 2, 2017. To the Fa conference in France. I send my regards to the Dafa disciples of France. In this final hour of the Fa rectification, cultivate yourselves solidly every step of the way and accomplish your mission of saving people. May your Fa conference be a success. Li Hongji, August 26, 2017. A congratulatory letter to the Fa conference of Argentina. My greetings to all practitioners attending the Fa conference of Argentina. Dafa is the law of the cosmos, and it is what brings life into being and makes greatness possible. To learn it, it's necessary that you study it with all due seriousness and mental calm, and do so consistently, while also ensuring that you understand what you are reading. Only when you ensure that your conduct as a person and as a cultivator abides by the Fa are you a Dafa disciple. The exercises play a supporting role alongside cultivation, and neither can be neglected. That said, with this Fa being as immense as it is, there is sure to be a special purpose for its being taught here in this world. People's values were declining terribly, and with these deplorable morals humanity was in peril. It was thus to save all lives that Dafa was introduced to this world, and it follows that genuine disciples shoulder the responsibility of saving all lives. Cherish this. An opportunity like this only comes about once in an eon. I wish your Fa conference success, and thank you all. Your teacher. Li Hongji. November 27, 2016. A congratulatory letter to the Fa conference of Taiwan. Greetings, Dafa disciples of Taiwan and those from other regions attending the conference. Let me begin by wishing your Fa conference success. The Dafa disciples of Taiwan have had a very positive impact during these years when the disciples of mainland China have been severely persecuted. This is truly outstanding. And the difference in how Dafa disciples have been treated by the two different systems of government on either side of the Taiwan Strait has, in and of itself, made the absurdity of the evil regime stand out more clearly than anything. But whatever circumstances a cultivator may find him or herself in, what is required of a cultivator is the same. Cultivation is about working on the human mind and heart, it is about cultivating oneself. Only when you are able to examine yourself, looking inward amid problems, conflicts, difficulties, or when being treated unfairly, is it true cultivation. And only by doing so will you be constantly improving, staying the right course on your cultivation journey, and progressing toward consummation. Cherish this opportunity, which comes only once in an eternity. Cherish the opportunity to cultivate. Cherish the journey you have walked. Master is waiting for you at the end. Once again, I wish your Fa conference success. Thank you all. Your teacher.
Let's be honest, if you're making
November
$2,500 a month,
27th, 2016. A congratulatory letter to the Fa Conference of Europe. My regards to all of the Dafa disciples attending the Fa Conference of Europe. Let me begin by wishing your Fa Conference success. A Fa Conference is meant for cultivation. What a cultivator cultivates is none other than him or herself. The outside pressures that Dafa disciples face are tests as well as opportunities to be more diligent, while the internal conflicts and pressures among Dafa disciples are, likewise, tests and opportunities to be more diligent. Every one of us, excepting me alone, is a cultivator. How well you do is a reflection of your cultivation state, and no one is an exception. You will not be able to complete the final leg of your journey well if your cultivation is deficient in some way, or if you have human thinking or attachments. What a cultivator works on is always him or herself, and even the slightest change to your human thinking amounts to an improvement and will be witnessed by divine beings. Cultivation is not something done for Dafa's sake, and nor is saving lives. Rather, cultivation ensures that a being is progressing toward spiritual perfection, while saving lives comes from a cultivator's compassion and his or her responsibility when sentient beings are in peril. The journey that you take is a process of letting go of your many strong attachments and walking the path well. I would like to again wish your conference great success. I look forward to hearing good news from you, and thank you. November 5th, 2016. Hungji. A greeting to the South America Fa Conference. My greetings to our Dafa disciples in South America. Let me begin by wishing your Fa Conference success. I hope that you will make improvements in cultivation through the Fa Conference. Dafa is about cultivation, and Dafa disciples are people who cultivate, so cultivation is essential for you as Dafa disciples. Only by cultivating yourselves well will you manage to fulfill your missions as Dafa disciples. Thank you, and again I wish your conference great success. Your teacher. Li Hongji. October 8, 2016. On the responses to the piece about assistant. Soul Star. As your master, I acknowledge only the main soul of a Dafa disciple. And all of the magnificent and meritorious contributions that Dafa disciples have made throughout history were done by the main, surface bodies of the disciples. Nothing can change this fact. The complexity involved in the rectification of the cosmos is beyond human comprehension, and the interference arranged by the old forces is remarkably severe. So as your master I hadn't wanted you to get caught up in the perplexing intricacies of the situation and thereby have your cultivation be affected. I want you to have the utmost magnanimity and compassion towards sentient beings. When you experience any kind of interference, if you can manage not to get overly focused on the particulars of what is happening and thereby keep yourself unperturbed, then you will be able to emerge from it all, and you will have even greater mighty virtue. The truth is, anything that is not consistent with Dafa or the righteous thoughts of Dafa disciples results from the old forces' involvement, and that includes all of the unrighteous elements that you have. And that is why I have made sending righteous thoughts one of the three major things that Dafa disciples are to do. Sending righteous thoughts targets things that are outside of as well as inside of oneself, with nothing unrighteous allowed to escape. It's just that there have been differences in how we have regarded and handled sending righteous thoughts. Amidst a troubled world and when cosmic laws are in disarray, Dafa disciples are acting out of compassion to save lives, which of course include those within their own domains. All beings will certainly be given chances as we go about offering salvation, with some of them being given prolonged chances. During the process, some beings will indeed turn around and become good, yet there will also be some who aren't good enough in the end, and those need to be cleared out. You have in fact been doing such things throughout your cultivation, and as your master I have been doing these things for you as well. These kinds of interference are only a small fraction of the countless kinds that exist, and are nothing significant. You have already made it through the most serious interference of all. Some practitioners may have seen certain things of concern, yet those are nothing but a matter of how sentient beings are acting, whether in a positive or negative way, during this time when things are in such disarray and while Dafa disciples are compassionately trying to save beings. If we are to save sentient beings, we cannot eliminate lives across the board, we still need to see whether they can be saved. During this process, naturally lives are going to act in a positive or negative way, and this is something that is bound to happen during the fair rectification. There is no need to overreact when you see a being acting negatively during this time when things are such a mess. Study the Fa well, do the 3 things well, and you will have all that you need. The old forces are now in fact being disposed of, after having been judged to be demons against Fa rectification. Master is here, and the Fa is here, so nothing will get out of hand. Li Hongji. August 19, 2016. A reminder. My greetings to the Dafa disciples attending the Midwestern U.S. Fa Conference. It is necessary for a Dafa disciple to ensure his cultivation on a daily basis, and it is the mission of a Dafa disciple to clarify the facts and save people. You cannot go without either of these as you journey toward consummation. How well you do is a reflection of whether you are diligent in your cultivation. The current state of affairs in society may change, but never will the requirements for cultivation, as they are the standards of the cosmos and the standards of Dafa. May your Fa conference be a great success. Li July 31, 2016. Hongji. Tianguo Marching Band. Drums horns purging all. Beckoning and a band. Glorious. In the cosmic Fa rectification. And. Heaven. As it's. August 1, 2015. Of Fa. Manner Souls Earth Saves Lives. Display. Bakar et Light. The. Of. Divine. To an end. Li of. Might Evil, Heaven. All time shines. Hongji. On Dafa. Lunyu. Dafa is the wisdom of the Creator. It is the bedrock of creation, what the heavens, earth, and universe are built upon. It encompasses all things, from the utmost minuscule to the vastest of the vast, while manifesting differently at each of the cosmic body's planes of existence. Out of the depths of the cosmic body, the tiniest of particles first appear, with layers upon layers of countless particles following, ranging in size from small to great, reaching all the way to the outer planes that humankind knows, those of atoms, molecules, planets, and galaxies, and beyond, to what is still larger. Particles of varying sizes make up lives of varying sizes as well as the worlds of varying sizes that permeate the cosmic body. Lives at any of the various planes of particles perceive the particles of the next larger plane to be planets in their skies, and this is true at each and every plane. To the lives at each plane of the universe, it seems to go on infinitely. It was Dafa that created time and space, the multitude of lives and species, and all of creation, all that exists owes to it, with nothing outside of it. All of these are the tangible expressions, at different planes, of Dafa's qualities, Zhen-Shan-Ren. However advanced people's means of exploring space and probing life may be, the knowledge gained is limited to certain parts of this one dimension, where human beings reside, at a low plane of the universe. Other planets were explored before by humans during civilizations predating history. Yet for all the heights and distances achieved, humankind has never managed to depart from the dimension in which it exists. The true picture of the universe will forever elude humankind. If a human being is to understand the mysteries of the universe, space-time, and the human body, he must take up cultivation of a true way and achieve true enlightenment, raising his plane of being. Through cultivation his moral character will elevate, and once he has learned to discern what is truly good from evil, and virtue from vice, and he goes beyond the human plane, he will see and gain access to the realities of the universe as well as the lives of other planes and dimensions. While people often claim that their scientific pursuits are to improve quality of life, it is technological competition that drives them. And in most cases they have come about only after people have pushed out the divine and abandoned moral codes meant to ensure self-restraint. It was for these reasons that civilizations of the past many times met with destruction. People's explorations are necessarily limited to this material world, and the methods are such that only what has been recognized is studied. Meanwhile, things that are intangible or invisible in the human dimension, but that do objectively exist and do reveal themselves in real ways in this immediate world, such as spirituality, faith, divine word, and miracles, are treated as taboo, for people have cast out the divine. If the human race is able to improve its character, conduct, and thinking by grounding these in moral values, it will be possible for civilization to endure and even for miracles to occur again in the human world. Many times in the past, cultures that were as divine as they were human have appeared in this world and helped people to arrive at a truer understanding of life and the universe. When people show the appropriate respect and reverence toward Dafa as it manifests here in this world, they, their race, or their nation will enjoy blessings or honor. It was Dafa, the great way of the universe, that created the cosmic body, the universe, life, and all of creation. Any life that turns away from Dafa is truly corrupt. Any person who can align with Dafa is truly a good person, and will be rewarded and blessed with health and happiness. And any cultivator who is able to become one with Dafa is an enlightened one divine. Li Hongji, May 24, 2015. Still so arrogant and reckless? Like anger mouthpieces lies. Wolves. As devils. Insanity thoughts, conscience. Arise, yellow longer. In life. And there is no escape. Evil must be paid for. Dare you still act so arrogant and reckless? Madman in a spreading. Fit of. Howling. Evil heightening. Like as the. No good. Trace. Know of. Winds. Then autumn. Red withers. Wild has coming. And to. Brash end. Panic is. No set. This. Pay back in. Li, July 15, 2014. Hongji. The red demon is incinerated while adamantine ones are tempered. At Zhongnanhai, but the evil he wagered the red regime's fate in a fight with divine law, causing evil tides all about, unleashing treachery. Never on this earth was there a wretch as awful as he. Their violent forces depleted, he has dug his own grave. Many times have adamantine ones been tempered. As the red regime disintegrates, Dafa disciples are returning to heaven, fulfilling their vows. 10 parties. 1,000 ringleader. Gathered has a to deficient. Petition. Head. Li, February 14, 2014. Hongji. Righteous thoughts. They surge roaring with, they sweep eliminating at. Like thunderbolts, colossal power, they across the cosmos. Once all that's. To cosmic reach beyond the heavens, no crevice left untouched. Degenerate and deviant. Heights. Li, February 13, 2014. Hongji. Congratulations to the Taiwan Fa Conference. I'd like to extend my greetings to all Dafa disciples attending the Taiwan Fa Conference. The form that Dafa's cultivation takes is different from all forms of cultivation in history. That is because you shoulder the responsibility of a Dafa disciple, the sacred mission of saving sentient beings at a critical moment in history for mankind. Conveying the truth to the world's people may appear simple, yet it impacts the futures of sentient beings. In order to do this task well, you must cultivate yourselves well. Your Fa Conference is for sharing together in the cultivation process and finding your shortcomings in cultivation, thereby becoming more diligent. To this end, Master hopes your Fa Conference will be a complete success and hopes you will be even more diligent in cultivation. Li, November 18, 2012. Hongji. To choose. The Dafa, the great way, that saves the world was born in the East. It is not the wicked Chinese Communist Party that can save the world. Why did the Lord Creator choose that land? To use the flames burning the wicked party to temper the Vajras. Are Dafa disciples any different from the Christ? People, do not choose the wrong direction, curry favor with the wicked regime, and you'll be duped by demons. Dafa has already spread to the west from China, only by learning the truth is their hope of salvation. Li Hongji, May 3, 2012. Stirred by reflection. After 10 years of trials and tribulations, lotuses fill the courtyard. A rainbow of colors illuminates the heavens. One's purity is seen, after the adamantine will is fully tempered. True thoughts dissolve all, the whole sky is clear. Disciples of Fa walk the earth, compassion they bring. With kind thoughts they save people, evil specters they vanquish. Righteous thoughts each step of the way, divine beings are present in this world. When they return with full bounty, the multitude of gods shall receive them. Li Hongji, June 29, 2010.